various Indian territories. There was also conversation around how India may have attacked Lahore. No confirmation absolutely from Government of India. In your assessment, what are you reading, sir? Is that something you're also hearing on ground?
First and foremost, I'd like to qualify Mr. Quatra's statement that it is war against terrorism. I think most specifically it is war against a terrorist nation. That would be more precise definition of what is going on. Secondly, you see, once Pakistan targeted our civilian cities, we had to respond. They had targeted our military installations. So therefore, as I call it, phase 2 of Operation Sindoor now is we are targeting the military infrastructure because, please understand, the terrorism is sponsored by whom? It is by the Pakistan Army. Pakistan Army, the terrorists are the assets. They are very well integrated into the war doctrines. Terrorism is the national policy of Pakistan. So therefore, let's not get confused that we are only going against terrorists. No, we are going against a terrorist nation, and we have to degrade the potential of Pakistan Army because they are only fueling, they are only sponsoring terrorism. So therefore, military targets have to be hit because then only we can degrade Pakistan potential to sponsor proxy war. Until we degrade Pakistan potential, until we hit Pakistan Army, then only we will be able to hurt Pakistan nation because Pakistan nation is being run by the generals. There's no one else who is actually has any say. They give the script to the politicians, their civilian leaders.
But Major General, you know, that would result in further escalation, sir. And so far, what we have heard from the Indian government is that our response has been non-retaliatory and measured in nature. India does not seek any further escalation in this ongoing war.
Yes, because when you put it in political terms and when you put in military terms, the two terminologies are different. When you say politically, we are not going to escalate, we are only going to respond. So when army responds, escalation is inherent. But the point I'm trying to make is, what is our intent? Our intent is to deter Pakistan and stop the proxy war. And that's how it is being militarily executed. So the politically, yes, we don't want to escalate. But in case Pakistan is not responding, then escalation is inherent. And that's what is the response of the military. Military response is not just tit for tat. And let me once again qualify. This time is not going to rap on the knuckle. Our friend,
and you know, let's also make it clear, Major General, for Pakistan at least, the polity and military are not too very different from each other. The polity does what the military says and essentially controls the polity in the country. So any a political will would mean nothing for Pakistan until there is military will to basically de-escalate, and that hasn't happened so far. We haven't seen any statement coming out from Pakistan to de-escalate the matter. Sir, stay with us. I'll come back to you. Let's quickly listen into J.D. Vance, US VP, Vice President, when he spoke on the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan and US's need to stay away because it's not their war after all.
We want this thing to de-escalate as quickly as possible. We can't control these countries, though. Fundamentally, India has its gripes with Pakistan. Pakistan has responded to India. What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of a war that's fundamentally none of our business and has nothing to do with America's ability to control it. You know, America can't tell the Indians to lay down their arms. We can't tell the Pakistanis to lay down their arms. And so we're going to continue to pursue this thing through diplomatic channels. Our hope and our expectation is that this is not going to spiral into a broader regional war or, God forbid, a nuclear conflict. But sure, we're worried about these things. But I think the job of diplomacy, but also the job of cooler heads in India and Pakistan, is to make sure this doesn't become a nuclear war. If it happened, of course, it would be disastrous. Right now, we don't think that's going to happen.
All right, there you have it. J.D. Vance, US Vice President, suggesting that it may not happen and perhaps the global community does not want the war to escalate into a broader global conflict. Karthik, you know, there's been a flurry of response from many countries, Western countries, including European Union, US, UK, in the past couple of hours, suggesting that they want the situation to de-escalate. But at the same time, when you look at the response of Pakistan, it has tried to engage various international agencies, including the UNSC, in the last couple of days to bring about its own stance in global media, to put forth its own statement suggesting that they are not the escalators. In fact, India is the escalator, but they haven't been heard. If anything, they've been now told to be accountable for the terrorism that emanates from Pakistani soil. So barring Turkey, Azerbaijan and China, there is very little support forthcoming for Pakistan.
Yeah, Shweta, but if I just look at it from the other end of the prism, I think, there is also a lot of double standards at play as far as Western and so-called leaders of the developed world are concerned. Simply put, on the day after the Pahalgam attacks of April 22nd, there's a flurry of messages, there's a flurry of tweets all the way from, Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin, to voices coming from the European Commission, from Italy, from France, from Israel. All of these condemning the terror attack on India. And I think that is what gave India the confidence at some level that at least diplomatically we are in a much stronger position than Pakistan. And the fact of the matter being that the world is standing against terror and at least voicing their concern over terror strikes that India was hit with on April 22nd. But cut to India's response 15 days later, and there seems to be the commentary at least seems to be softening by global leaders. Now, again, look at the statement coming from J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance saying that what happens between India and Pakistan is none of US's business, and at best they can only try and intervene and ask the countries to de-escalate. De-escalate what? I mean, what is India's role in this de-escalation? India's role was clear and simple: striking terror camps in Pakistan. Now, beyond that, and this coming again, I mean, I'm saying diplomatically and as far as foreign relations in the world go, coming pretty much in the backdrop, if not on the assumption, but coming in the backdrop that the globe is united in its voice against terrorism. And when India takes action and Pakistan retaliates again on civil and military infrastructure, then there's a dialing down of this rhetoric against terror. And J.D. Vance coming out and saying that, hey, you know what, both the countries should talk and both the countries should de-escalate and matters should not get worse. It should not become a regional conflict. I mean, at some level, I think we are talking once again about double standards of Western leaders.
Absolutely. Very, very rich coming from a country that went inside Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad. Very rich coming from a country that did defend its borders when it had to and did send US Navy SEALs right inside Pakistan right now. Let's also listen in to the Indian ambassador to the US, Vinay Mohan Kwatra. He spoke about de-escalation. He also spoke about India's war on terrorism. Listen in to what he had to say.
This was Pakistan's way of saying to the world, look, we stand with the terrorists. We will do what's good for the terrorists, not what's good for the rest of the country.
Is India at war with Pakistan?
We are at war with the terrorists. And we will, as I said, bring justice to the victims and hold them accountable.
Is this in part a religious war between Pakistani Muslims and Indian Hindus?
I think it is Indian action against the terrorists. The ones who carried out those killings of the civilians. Our frame of reference in doing these attacks, in holding them accountable, is holding terrorism accountable. That's our frame. It is India and terror activities backed by Pakistan, which were responsible for killing of the 26 innocent civilians.
You say you're at war with the terrorists. At what point will you be satisfied?
Well, as I said, when we did our attacks, measured attacks, proportionate attacks, day before yesterday, that was precisely the point we were trying to convey, that these terrorists carried out these brutal killings of 26 civilians.
So are you done with the attacks, or do you think they're going to continue?
If I could just complete. So when we did this day before yesterday, our assumption was that we have completed what we set out to do ourselves vis-a-vis the terrorists. We, from our perspective, had brought a certain finality to it. But it was, of course, subject to whether Pakistan has brought finality to it. Pakistan chose to escalate it further. Now it's duty-bound for us to respond.
All right, very interesting comment coming in there from Vinay Kwatra. He suggested that when we conducted Operation Sindoor, Karthik, we tried to bring some sort of finality to what is happening in Pakistan, but it does look like this has escalated further, not something that India wanted to begin with.
Absolutely, but again, India did not perpetrate it. India did not want this escalation, but India is responding to Pakistan's escalation. And I think Vinay Kotra is absolutely right in his observations. And this is something that for the last 20 minutes or so, Shweta, you and I have also been discussing, that this was India's pretty much answer to the terror strike on civilians in Pahalgam. And this is exactly what Vinay Kotra is saying, that from India's perspective, Operation Sindoor was the finality. Now what India is compelled to do is respond to Pakistani aggression. And Pakistan, of course, I mean, Pakistan being Pakistan and a puppet democratic government installed with Shehbaz Sharif having pretty much no say in matters of foreign policy or military. I think it is fairly obvious. Pakistan army, which has been harboring terrorists and terror camps and funding them and training them and providing them with arms and ammunition and any other aid, including financial aid that they need, primarily to cause unrest in India. This becomes a slap on the face of the Pakistani generals who run the entire country, who run the economy, everything from the businesses to the infrastructure to power plants to to the terrorist camps. So India has squarely slapped the Pakistani generals on their face, at least so far as the last 48 hours or so are concerned. And now Pakistan has no option but to save face, and their only saving grace is to escalate matters and send those drones into Indian skies, which again India has thus far successfully been able to shoot down. So the whole onus of de-escalation, and there's something
lies with Pakistan, absolutely.
Lies with Pakistan and nobody else, Shweta.
Thank you very much for all those details, Karthik. Also joining us on the show right now is Air Marshal Dipendu Chaudhary. Also with us is Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time out. I want to come to you first. Air Marshal, the situation now seems to be escalating since late last night. I think it's very important. India's position is when we conducted Operation Sindoor, there was supposed to be a finality to what India thought were terror camps operating in Pakistan. But it shows clear intent from Pakistan since yesterday that it's not just about terror camps operating in their soil. They will target civilian infrastructure, and they've also targeted military installations, including some very crucial airstrips that they attempted to target. But all those attempts were thwarted by Indian government.
Good morning to you. I think it's been a long night, and the whole action is continuing. But what is very clear is that when India, to answer your questions, when India went in for this time around, had worked out the options should this escalate. After the last, if you take the frame of reference of the Balakot strike, they hit back. They attempted to hit back, and this was known. And this is something most certainly was factored in because the kind of state Pakistan is and the kind of military Pakistan is, and the fact that the military is thriving on the India threat narrative and has assured its people that will keep its citizens safe. So Pakistani military had possibly, it was a foregone conclusion that there would most likely be a retaliation from them. And but from an Indian perspective, it was a very fair and balanced one. The first action was purely on the terrorists, and that was the game plan. The idea was to hit them, and if that works, fantastic. But Pakistan being what it is, India was well prepared, and that is what is panning out now, and that is how the escalation has begun. And the handle on escalation has been firmly in the hand of the Pakistanis. It was for them to assess the whole situation and take suitable actions. But it is inevitable that the Pakistani military has to save its face to its public, to its people and its citizens, and B, it most certainly would like to remain in power, and that is the crux of it. So I'm not surprised that this escalation has taken place. This is something which we had well factored into a military strategy and a comprehensive strategy at the highest levels, I'm sure. And that is why this time around we have a very comprehensive strategy, which I said several times in our show, that this has been well planned, well articulated. The whole narrative has been well thought of with enormous political and military cohesion and a clear line of direction. And that's how we are going, step by step.
Absolutely. Step by step. step by step, and that's exactly how India is going about it. Should it escalate, India was already prepared for it. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, a lot of narrative there in the Western media, which I was also very surprised to see, that they're making it about a religious war, calling it a religious conflict. Perhaps a little to no understanding of why and why not. It's not a religious conflict to begin with. It's not a conflict between two communities. It's a conflict between two ideas of nation state. And as to when does it end, I think needless to say it ends when Pakistan stops escalating.
Shweta, good morning, everybody. What you just said, Shweta, it suits the Western world. The Western world is also fighting a similar thing, but on a different level. We are fighting terror. They are fighting yet another ideological war, and they would much like to portray the Western world, the threat of Islam to the Western world indirectly, and having India as a face. Having said that, obviously the kind of activities that are taking place right now, terror is one part which triggered it, but now is the time to hit and destroy the source of terror. Would like to be diplomatic in this aspect. The terror source, the hub, is the Pakistan army. Even if we were to talk about terror, do whatever we wish to, who is indulging in spreading this terror? The Pak army. The Pakistan army, not just now, they openly have admitted for the last 3 decades, but if we know it well, the Kabalis have been doing it since 1947. There is no doubt that this terror that we are talking about is primarily an ideology which is there. We don't say that a particular ideology is, sort of under the garb of terror, trying to spread or impose their views on the world. We have to fight. And right now, irrespective of whatever it may be, the trigger of it, terror has been a nuisance. Pakistan has been using terror as an instrument of state policy. Pakistan has had 5.5 lakhs of the military personnel not fighting for a conventional war, but only to defend terror, propagate terror, invest money in terror, and obviously putting India on a back foot at all times.
Right.
It's not done. It's enough. Is enough. We have to strike.
I think we've made it clear. Enough is enough. Come to think of it, we've made it very clear, Lieutenant General, by retaliating in same manner, in similar fashion, in a manner that goes on to suggest that India was prepared for any escalation on Pakistan's side. Let's listen into what Tammy Bruce, the spokesperson for US Department of State, had to say on the escalating war between India and Pakistan. In fact, let's also get a view of what the Western media is thinking and feeling of it. But let's first listen into Tammy Bruce.
What I can say here, a few more things, certainly. We continue to urge India and Pakistan to work towards a responsible solution in this, and we've been saying that certainly from the beginning. We also want to say that what matters in this particular instance right now where we're at is that the phone calls happened, that we are remaining engaged with both governments at, again, multiple levels. We, though, will not engage in the nature of discussing what the conversations have been or what we've conveyed. Certainly there's a lot already on the record when it comes to our reaction to what's been happening here. So there's some discussion that Pakistan wants an independent investigation as to what has happened regarding the terrorist attack. And of course, what we say to that is we want the perpetrators to be held accountable and are supportive of any efforts to that end. All right, Sean. Well, obviously in today's world, that's a call that we've been making for decades. It is the dynamic that we've seen in the Middle East disrupting lives, and clearly what happened in Kashmir is awful, and we've all, of course, we send our condolences. The world has rejected the nature of that kind of violence overall, of course, and certainly the President has and continues to. But at this moment in time, there's like one thing that has to stop, which is a back and forth and a continuation of this. And that is what we're focused on right now. Message from the Secretary, and I think from the United States as a whole in general, is that the violence should stop, that the military action, war, as we've seen in that region, certainly in the Middle East, has clearly for generations proven that it is not a solution because it never ends. There has to be a change in that regard. So obviously, when it comes to solving a problem, this administration has made itself clear that a war, the military, more violence is not a solution. Diplomacy is a solution, new ideas to stop generational violence and problems. Andrea.
That is Tammy Bruce for you, spokesperson, U.S. Department of State, suggesting more violence is not the solution. A position India has also taken for a very long time now. Violence is not the solution. Military action is not the solution. India wasn't the one to escalate, and perhaps it's about time for Pakistan to also realize that any escalatory measures by Pakistan will be met with equal retaliation. Now, moving on to sources now suggesting us that 50 drones were successfully neutralized during a large-scale counter-drone operation conducted by Indian Army air defense units in the areas of Udhampur, Samba, Jammu, Akhnur, Nagrota and Pathankot areas last night, when Pakistan made failed attempts to send drones all across various places along the line of control and international border. The engagement involved extensive use of L-70 guns. There were other systems used, including Shilka systems and advanced counter-UAS equipments that were used by Pakistan. All 50 drones were successfully neutralized by India. All right, big breaking news coming in there, of course, by the way of what transpired late last night. Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar also joining us on the show. Major General, a sense of understanding now emerging as to how many drones were put into action by Pakistan, as many as 50, and all were taken down.
So you see, since last 48 hours, we are seeing how effective our air defense system has been and how ineffective the Pakistani defense system has been. It's very vital to invest in these kind of resources for the armed forces, because if you have a potent air defense system, a lot can be saved and a lot can be achieved. Now, trying to analyze this statement of the United States first, and then coming to the war preparedness of Pakistan and India. So, the statement is on, I think, expected lines, because we have to fight this battle alone. We have to realize it, that our battles are going to be fought by us only, and nobody from outside is going to fight the battle for us. The United States and India have certain agreements, which I'm sure the US will honor at this point of time: the COSA, the LIMUA, the BECA, and the USASA. So these agreements basically compel United States to share intel with us, communication with us, and also in case we need some kind of weapon platforms and systems from the US, it has to be made available to us. So I think to that extent, the United States is going to be supporting India in this war. On the diplomatic front, it is keeping a even stance, saying that we don't want to get into this war. Second aspect now is the war preparedness of India and Pakistan. I'll start with India first. What I have been speaking to the people and observing also, we are fully equipped and prepared to take on Pakistan. And if you have a comparison of the military strength of the two countries in terms of soldiers, in terms of manpower, we are, as far as army is concerned, it is a ratio of 2:1 on our side. Air Force also 2:1. Navy, yes, we are 3:1 as far as Navy is concerned, because Pakistan Navy is extremely weak right now, and the numbers of their warships and submarines are quite low as compared to India. And they don't have an aircraft carrier also. So on the military strength, I think if this actually gets into a conventional war, which it is too early to say that if Pakistan tries an incursion into India and tries to bring in the ground forces, then I think Pakistan is going to have it, very, very badly. So I have my doubts whether Pakistan will try to get his ground forces into the campaign as of now, because the next 48 hours are going to be crucial on the type of air action by Pakistan. And of course, we have retaliated. I think the damage assessment, in the course of the day, there will be an official briefing from India's side, and we will come to know what kind of damage assessment has been there on our side as well as on their side, because that will dictate
Absolutely.
to us.
Major General, we'll try and get more details on damage assessment as well. But something interesting you pointed out, it's very short of being called a conventional war. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, what is the threshold for a conventional war? If one were to call it a war, come to think of it, the escalations that have transpired in the last couple of hours, I think we are one announcement short of a war. But in your assessment, sir, what's the threshold for calling it a conventional military war?
Whether we are at war, you call it conventional or you call it hybrid, call it proxy, whatever. Right now, it's a conventional war. It's a war. It depends now how we go about it. There is nothing more that as a soldier I can tell you. This is war. This is the way what we are prepared for. This is what we are trained for. And this is what we are doing right now. We are using all that we can, and we should. The aim is to target the source of terror, and that's the Pakistan army. Where is the doubt? Do we need to be qualifying that we are still not at war, or we are still trying to go to nothing? We are at war. What is? If along the LOC you are fighting with all the might that you have, the Pakis are trying to infiltrate wherever they can. What is it? It's war. We're using air, we're using missiles, we're using drones, we're using Navy, we're using air, everything, the entire, whatever is available to us. We are at war. It's time, and we finish it off at the earliest. There's no question. We have to do it now or never. There is no question that, no, we are just about on an escalatory ladder. We are at war. And let's finish it off.
The reason I asked you that, Lieutenant General, is we haven't declared it yet, and until the government of India declares it yet, I don't have the authority to say it on air. I understand it's your position, it's your point of view, sir.
Declaration is one part. This is war.
I agree 100%, sir. I agree. It's just that until an official declaration comes in, I think it will be easy for me to do it, but not the right thing for me to do it. Air Marshal Dipendu Chaudhary, I have to ask you, sir, I think any sane Indian in any part of this country is hoping that we do not get any more damaged than the Pakistani forces while they continue to do what they do. The civil force also does not get any more damage. The civilians don't have to be hurt in the process. I think that's not anybody who we speak to today would not want war, at least a full-blown war, one that could hurt our soldiers as well. Where does the de-escalation start from here? Because come to think of it, if you assess everything that has transpired in the last couple of hours, it does look like Pakistan is undeterred. It wants to hurt us militarily. It is hurting our civilian forces as well. It's hurting our civilians to the point at least 15 people have died in Poonch alone. Shelling is reported once again in Uri. So it is continuing with its effort to build pressure on India. If it were to de-escalate from here, sir, what measures could we expect?
Thank you, Shweta. I'll just step back a few paces and just go over a few aspects. One was on the US position vis-a-vis India. Some of their open statements indicate the level of their engagement and knowledge and awareness. You are aware what the President of the United States mentioned. He says, this has been obviously a century ago we didn't have Pakistan. So obviously their general awareness is on the lower side. And then the spokesperson we are getting clubbed with the Middle East. So that's the realm of the US depth of engagement. And I think it was very aptly brought out. I think very clear to India that India has to solve its own problems. So the US is not really going to do very much to it. And all these agreements that we have, which was out. Frankly, these are agreements all biased towards assistance from India to America should they get into an engagement, especially in the Indo-Pacific construct in the recent years. So that's an entirely different spin. On the issue of, if you noticed, they tried, in the discussion, which you showed right at the beginning, and they brought in this religious factor. This is nothing surprising because given General Muni's statement, where he brought out openly about this two-nation theory and how Hindus are entirely different, I think that would have set some narrative, and that would have put the idea in the minds of a lot of common Americans who are not aware, and in fact, a lot of Americans in positions of power who are not aware of the intricacies and the dynamics which occur in this part of the country. On the issue of the drones which have been coming in on a large scale, like we discussed it last evening as well, this is bound to happen. They are trying very hard to saturate our systems. And now these mass-scale drones which have come in, which have been tackled wonderfully by the Army's air defense, and it's a credit to the older guns which have paid dividends in the high-end technology. But do understand these are cheap, low-level drones which are meant to saturate and create more nuisance value than real serious damage. But like I said, drones are from different scales and levels. On the issue of war, now that's a very interesting thing. If you notice, in the last several decades, I don't think any country has really declared war. Even the Russia-Ukraine war is not a declared war. But the definition of war has become so diffused, and this kind of a gray zone warfare, which we have been talking about for decades, that has been happening. And what has happened in India and the actions taken by Pakistan are classic copycat tactics, which they have lifted off from the playbook of the Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran against Israel. And obviously, they've been watching the Russo-Ukraine war very carefully. So this is a mixed match approach to warfare. But the fact is, which was brought out also, I think one of the speakers, I think with General Kulkarni, when he underlined it very clearly, that they have brought in their hard power into action as well, and have started hitting military targets. So this escalates it to a higher level. Whether India will declare it a war or will it continue in this manner in a diffuse sort of a rollover into a higher degree and higher level of operations. But one thing I'm absolutely in agreement that there is no denying that hard power will have to kick in at some point if this game goes on. De-escalation is in the hands of the Pakistan. Unless and until the Pakistani military realizes this, and unfortunately the military is under tremendous pressure to save face. So this is going to be a challenge.
All right. It's going to be a challenge, and if there were to be a de-escalation, I think the unanimous voices, I think Pakistan will have to initiate it at its own accord. Gentlemen, stay with us. Let's slip into a very quick break. We'll be back in just a bit.
Mama must be missing us, na?
Let's take it for a spin, give me one day. Feel the itch under my skin, it's a one day. You believe it when you see me and done, hey. It doesn't matter, just gotta get going.
New GT line, Taigun and Virtus. Volkswagen.
मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी चाहे जो भी हो।
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
Smashing corporate boundaries through sport. The News9 Corporate Badminton Championship 2025, in collaboration with Padma Shri Pulela Gopichand, offers corporations a unique opportunity to boost employee engagement through sport.
It's a perfect blend of fun, fitness and competition. So I invite all the corporate people out there to come to the court and showcase their passion for sports as well.
Top corporates are already in. Are you?
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University. Kindle the light within.
Co-powered by Tata AG, with you always. Venue partner, Gopichan Academy. Sports medicine partner, CSSH, Center for Spine and Sports Health. Associate sponsor, Blue Star, built on trust. Dinshas since 1932. D-Beats, a diamond is forever. Tata New. Celebration partner, Big Bull, the future of clubbing.
All right, we continue to bring you all the latest updates in Operation Sindoor. Breaking news coming in on your screens right now. Security has been heightened in Amritsar. Now, Shri Guru Ram Das Ji International Airport security has been heightened. Functions of the airport have been shut until further notice. So, Amritsar joins a long list of airports which are under tighter security. Security has been now heightened in Amritsar, the international airport. Shri Guru Ram Das Ji is now under special security. The functions of the airport have been shut, so the Amritsar airport has also been shut as of this morning. More news, of course, coming in by the way of what transpired late last night. As many as 50 drones, we are given to understand, were successfully neutralized during a large-scale counter-drone operation conducted by the Indian Army Air Defence units in the areas of Udhampur, Samba, Jammu, Aknoor, Nagrota, Pathankot areas. The engagement involved extensive use of L-70 guns, the Shilka systems and other advanced counter-UAS equipments, which now demonstrate Indian Army's robust capability to counter any aerial threats. And news also coming in from Uri right now. Pakistan continues to violate the ceasefire in Uri as well. Civilian cars have been now targeted by Pakistan in Uri as of this morning. Pakistan, in its attempt to target civilian infrastructure, civilians as well as military installations, is now continuing to bomb across the LOC using mortar, artillery as well as drones, 50 of which were neutralized by Indian Army Air Defence Unit. On the show with us is Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, Air Marshal Dipendu Chaudhary. Also with us is Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Sanjay Kulkarni is not with us. Major General Rajan Kochar, you were talking about how the entirety of last night, there was a sense of chaos, there was mayhem, and as we wake up this morning, we are now trying to make sense of what transpired, sir. 50 drones, a swarm drone attack by Pakistan, all of it neutralized, goes on to suggest that India is prepared, sir, for any eventuality and any further attack that Pakistan and Pakistan soil may emanate on India in days and hours to come.
Shweta, this is the beginning. Pakistan is not going to de-escalate whatever we may say, and there is no international pressure working anywhere on us or Pakistan. So we have to accept the fact that we are heading into a full-fledged war. Why we are saying that it's not a full-fledged war as of now? Because all the resources of a war have not been used so far, and once these resources also get into play, so I would right now like to term it as a limited conventional conflict. And in days to come, when we see the land forces also getting into play, then I think is a very, very serious sort of a concern. And why I'm saying is that Pakistan Army has a sustenance level. We have been evaluating this. I have done a series of staff checks on this. Around, if it goes into an intense mode of fighting, around 7 to 10 days. And that is why we are seeing this predominance of drone warfare. And why I'm saying this is because 2 years back, Pakistan formed its drone brigade, and it had immense help from China and Turkey. Bayraktar drones are there with Pakistan. Akinci drones are there with Pakistan from Turkey and from China also. So there is I would say, a sufficient amount of drones for Pakistan to carry out these swarm drone attacks, as you mentioned, because this is the beginning, and it's a low-cost option, and it also results in stretching our air defense resources. We all need to understand the one thing: we don't have unlimited ammunition, unlimited air defense resources. Now, India also has its own constraints, and we must realize this. You see, Bravo
True
is
that on constraints, Major General, I think it's also important to understand the constraints that India may not face. I think in war rhetoric, we often forget a lot about how prepared we are as a country to go to war and whether it is in anybody's interest at all in the long run. Let me get in Air Marshal Dipendu Chaudhary, who's still with us. Sir, I think something very interesting that Major General pointed out, and he said that the sustenance levels of a Pakistani army could be at about 7 to 10 days, but at the same time, come to think of it, for it to be declared a full-fledged war, there's not been enough mobilization of, in the Indian army. So far, we've only seen the Indian Air Force being mobilized. We've seen, some part of Navy also preparing itself since late last night. But as far as the mobilization of Indian Army forces is concerned, that hasn't really happened, and that could only happen when this escalates further. That could perhaps be what we should fear in the long run.
Tata, I would like to make one point clear. Any nation, when it gets into conflict, it's a very serious, and so nobody would like to. They would always like to keep the powder warm and dry. That means your equipment and ammunition conserved, ready. Your troops and all your military forces of all the three services at a certain level of readiness, and no one commits the whole all its resources in one go. And that is the norm of war across the world, and that's how it's been for centuries. This is no different. But the difference here is that unlike us, Pakistani military is also it's between the devil and the deep sea. It has started this whole series of actions, which the coach mentioned is a limited one, and I quite tend to agree with that. It's probably the first level of but do understand the Pakistani military is constrained to keep its backyard safe. It has issues down south. It has issues on its western borders up in the north. So Pakistan is also stressed. Do understand that the Pakistani Air Force itself is also carrying out limited action, and this is a tradition which the Pakistani Air Force has been doing even in previous wars. It conserves its assets and does not want to lose it because it's not a very big Air Force. So that is the challenge. But the issue is that they are relatively much weaker. Their war fighting capacity, there's something called a combat capacity and a combat sustenance, stamina. I think we exceed them far more in this. So we are very clear, and like I said earlier, and I think as we talked about, this whole calibration business is all about this. It's about stated actions at the right level at the right time, and you bring in all your resources. You mentioned the Air Force has been mobilized. What actually has happened is, yes, the Air Force has been activated for its air defense, and that happens well before all this would have started. Please understand that it's not started after that. The moment the first attack happened, it would have occurred. The moment this increased air activity or some when the airspace was closed, things were very clear. Pakistan did that in Balakot as well. So the point is, there are enough signals. The question is, yes, war will hurt Pakistan. It will hurt us equally. And please, like there's a whole saying that says, never ask the price of war to a soldier. He knows it best. So for a civilian's perspective as well, and for a national perspective, war is the last thing that India wants. But we have been pushed, lines have been crossed. And yet, I think we're showing tremendous amount of restraint and maturity in not doing the whole hog. And I think that call, when it is needed, will be taken most certainly.
All right. I think war is the last thing that anybody wants, but India continues to show restraint as far as its military capabilities is concerned. Let me quickly play up now. My colleague Irfan Qureshi was on ground yesterday when the Jammu blackout occurred. He was there at the site of panic. Let's see what he brings us.
उड़ी सेक्टर में इस समय हम मौजूद है और लगातार उड़ी सेक्टर में शेलिंग जो है वो हो रहा है और हम यहाँ पर उड़ी सेक्टर को लगातार कवर कर रहे हैं और आप देख सकते हैं जो यहाँ पर लोग मौजूद हैं वो अब शेलिंग की वजह से बाहर भाग रहे हैं अपने घरों से और जो आसपास के यहाँ शॉपकीपर्स वगैरह है और अंदर जो है अंडरग्राउंड जो यहाँ पर स्पेस है उसकी ओर जा रहे हैं और आप देख सकते हैं ये तमाम लोग जो है यहाँ शॉप्स में, होटल्स में और बाकी जगहों पर काम करते हैं। तमाम जो बिस्तर वगैरह सोने का सामान है वो लेते हुए यहाँ पर भागते हुए पहुँचे हैं और लगातार सरहदी इलाकों में नॉर्थ सेक्टर की बात करें खासतौर पर मैसिव शेलिंग जो है वो पाकिस्तान की तरफ से की जा रही है और इस मैसिव शेलिंग में टंगधार, करना, केरन और उड़ी सेक्टर कुपवाड़ा लगातार दहलते हुए दिख रहा है। टीवी9 भारत वर्ष टीम लगातार इस इलाके में मौजूद है और एक मैसिव तैयारी जो है वो इस पूरी स्थिति से निपटने के लिए है और भारतीय सेना लगातार जवाब दे रही है। लेकिन इस पूरे इलाके में शेलिंग से साफ तौर पर खौफ का माहौल है। इधर थोड़ा अंदर जाने की मैं कोशिश करूंगा। आप देख सकते हैं ये पूरा इलाका है। ये किस वजह से कैसे हुआ है ये क्रैक? ये पहले ये क्रैक हुआ है, ये जो स्थानीय लोग बता रहे हैं, ये भी जब मैसिव शेलिंग इस इलाके में इससे पहले हुई थी। तो ये जगह है जहां पर ये तमाम लोग बैठेंगे। इस तरह भी आप देखिए क्रैक्स, क्योंकि ये बिल्डिंग जो है, मुर्तजा थोड़ा आगे आके दिखाएं, ये बिल्डिंग जो है शेलिंग की चपेट में आया था और ये क्रैक्स अभी भी इस बिल्डिंग में मौजूद है। तो आप देख सकते हैं किस तरह की मैसिव शेलिंग इस इलाके में होती है। और जहां पर हम मौजूद है यहां पर एक तरफ भारतीय सेना की पोस्ट्स है और दूसरी तरफ जो है लगातार पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जो शेलिंग है वो लगातार इस समय यहां पर हो रही है और ये तमाम लोग यहां इस समय छुप रहे हैं और टीवी9 भारतवर्ष यहां पर लगातार मौजूद है। इस तरफ कुछ लोगों से बात भी करेंगे। क्या नाम है भाई आपका?
मेरा नाम मशहूर अहमद।
कहाँ से हैं आप?
गरकोट से।
गरकोट यानी उड़ी से ही है आप?
उड़ी से।
तो अगर आपकी बात हुई?
घर में अभी किया था फोन।
क्या सिचुएशन है
वो ये हालात, यही पूछ रहे थे हालात कैसे हुआ तुम्हारे।
तो आप डरे हुए तो नहीं है?
नहीं डरे नहीं।
हाँ, यहाँ आप सेफ महसूस कर रहे हैं बंकर में?
यहाँ जी थोड़ा।
तो लगातार कुछ दिन से शेलिंग हो रहा है भाई? आप
बहुत पिछले कुछ दिनों से हो रहा था, बीच में रुक गया था। आज अभी मुझे घर से आया फोन। मेरे घर के आसपास पड़ रहे हैं गोले इससे बहुत जबरदस्त।
यहाँ भी इस समय पीछे वाली साइड से लगातार शेलिंग सुन रहे हैं?
हाँ, यहाँ चारों साइड से आवाज आ रही है। मुझे घर से फोन किया, मैं वो डर के मारे बात ही नहीं कर सकते अभी।
तो साफ तौर पर यह स्थिति यहां पर है और लगातार जिस तरह पाकिस्तान की तरफ से जो बैक टू बैक ड्रोन अटैक्स जम्मू के कई इलाकों में, खासतौर पर जम्मू के एयरपोर्ट के आसपास, उधमपुर, अखनूर और वही पठानकोट तक लगातार अटैक किया जा रहा है, जिसे भारतीय सुरक्षा बल जो है लगातार नाकाम कर रहे हैं। और आज ये भी स्पष्ट किया गया आधिकारिक रूप से कि करीबन 15 ऐसी लोकेशंस है जहां पर पाकिस्तान ने ड्रोन से और मिसाइल से अटैक करने की कोशिश की तो उसे नाकाम किया गया है। लेकिन स्थिति गंभीर है लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के इलाकों में और यहां फिलहाल लोग जो है वो सेफ्टी की ओर भाग रहे हैं। हालांकि प्रशासन की तरफ से, सुरक्षा बलों की तरफ से भी इस इलाके में काफी इवैक्यूएशन भी किया गया, जो कि खासतौर पर जीरो लाइन और रेड जोन इलाके के लोग थे। और सलामाबाद से लगातार टीवी9 भारतवर्ष ने जिस तरह रिपोर्ट दिखाया उसके चलते वहां से भी लोगों को निकाला गया है, क्योंकि वहां पर काफी ऐसे मकान थे वो जो कि आग की चपेट में आए थे।
All right, let's shift focus to now more breaking news coming in. An official statement from the Indian Army, ADGPI, Pakistani Army armed forces launched multiple attacks. That's what Indian Army has written as of this morning, using drones and other munitions along the entire western border. On the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May 2025, Pakistani troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and befitting reply was given to the ceasefire violations. Indian Army remains committed to safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation. All nefarious designs will be responded with force. Well, that's the news coming in. As far as early morning at 7:30 in India is concerned, the Indian Army has now responded to the launched multiple attacks of Pakistani armed forces, suggesting that a befitting reply was given to all ceasefire violations. Remember, Pakistani troops have resorted to ceasefire violations along the entire line of control. Just a couple of minutes ago, you heard my colleague Irfan Qureshi speaking from Uri, where people were also assembling in a bunker to safeguard themselves, and that has been the case throughout the Western Front. And Indian Army now suggesting that they have repulsed and given a befitting reply to all ceasefire violation. Major General Dr. Rajan is with us. Also with us is Air Marshal Chaudhry. I have to come to you first, Major General. As the picture emerges clear, there was a very difficult night that the Indian Armed Forces were able to retaliate. And they say, and I quote, all nefarious designs will be responded with force. So essentially, that is the position Indian Army is taking right now, that if you come to us, we're not going to take it sitting down. We will respond to you appropriately and proportionately, and that's exactly what Indian Army has done, sir, through the day, through the night, in fact, as of yesterday. I have to ask you, sir, since our ongoing conversation on the combat capability of India, which was also pointed out by Air Marshal, that it's far greater than Pakistan, it's far longer than Pakistan, but at the same time nobody really needs a war. But come to think of it, all the actions of Pakistani army in the past couple of hours at least go on to suggest that they are not going to back down.
Shweta, firstly I would like to comment on this statement from the ADG-PI. I consider this as a very mature and a measured statement. Absolutely no rhetoric in this statement, because the kind of statements we hear from his counterpart in Pakistan, DG ISPR, it's totally rhetoric and a lot of unwanted information or unverified information is given. One thing interesting in this statement, what I see is that there is no mention of any intrusion by enemy aircrafts. I really see that he has mentioned drones, but on these channels since yesterday evening, we are hearing that one pilot has been captured and I believe 3 aircrafts have been shot down and things like that. So maybe that information has not been corroborated. So right. I sincerely feel, because this war, you will see there will be an information vacuum at times. You will not know what actually is happening on the ground, and it is rightly so, because we can't be covering the news that today Indian Army has crossed this area, Indian Army
Absolutely.
is moving.
And a lot of that fake news or the fog of war is also
Yes.
weighing on people's psyche. I think it's important to be responsible, and that statement that has now come in from the Indian Army goes on to suggest that basically there was a second wave of drone attack by about 4 a.m. in the morning, but Indian air defense system tried to neutralize it all. Aditya Rajkot also joining us on the show right now. Aditya, it does look like the Indian Army's mature response has finally come out, suggesting that the Pakistani armed forces launched multiple attacks, all of which were thwarted.
Well, that's right, Shweta. A big development coming in, the statement from the Indian Army on the Operation Sindoor, that Pakistan armed forces launched multiple attacks using drones and other munitions along entire western border on the intervening night of 8th and 9th of May. Pakistani troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and befitting reply was given to the ceasefire violations. The Indian Army says that it remains committed to safeguarding the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the nation. All nefarious designs will be responded appropriately. So a very mature, very calm, actual statement coming in from the Indian Army on what has transpired over the past. We know for sure that 50 Pakistani drones were successfully neutralized last night during a large-scale counter-drone operation conducted by the Indian Army's air defense units in the areas of Udhampur, Samba, Jammu, Akhnor, Nagrota and Pathankot areas as well. So clearly a big development. Apart from that, I can brief you that at the line of control between India and Pakistan, heavy artillery shelling has continued overnight. A lot of civilian areas have been targeted as well. The police lines of Poonch in Jammu and Kashmir also came under attack. There have been no casualties as such at the military level or the police level that have been received. One woman, unfortunately, has lost her life in Uri of North Kashmir in Pakistani shelling, while at least 8 others are injured in that area. So that's the latest we are picking up right now. Heavy shelling in Uri, Kupwara and Poonch areas of Jammu and Kashmir between India and Pakistan. But apart from that, at least 2 barrage of swarm drones were sent in from Pakistan. Drone attacks were launched. This happened last night at around 8 p.m. and then again at around 4 or 4:15 a.m. this morning. But both these attacks have been repulsed, and very critical role has been played, of course, by the Indian Army, the security forces, giving a very tough response to the Pakistani aggression. And I must compliment the engagement that involved the Indian Army's air defense units, and especially extensive use of the L-70 guns, the Zu-23mm, the Shilaka systems and other advanced counter-UAS equipment, which clearly demonstrated Indian Army's robust capability to counter aerial threats. So that's the latest that we are picking up as of now.
I have to indulge you in at least 2 confirmations or clarity on 2 aspects of what's transpired in the last couple of hours. One, of course, is the downing of that Pakistani aircraft. Any confirmation at all on whether India successfully downed one aircraft and whether India is in custody of one Pakistani pilot?
Well, yes, certainly. A very, strong response was given to the Pakistani scrambling of the jets, etc. But no official word yet by the Indian Army or, of course, Indian Air Force or any other wings of the government clearly in Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Rajasthan. Yes, we know that there have been attempts made by the Pakistan Air Force as well as the Pakistan Army to, intrude into India and conduct attacks. But as of now, no official word on the downing of the jets. Yesterday evening, we had heard reports of at least 2 to 3 jets of the Pakistan Air Force that could have been targeted in 3 different areas. One being Pathankot in Punjab, second being, of course, Aknoor in Jammu and Kashmir, and third being Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. But as of now, there's no official word. We are waiting for a briefing of the Indian Army and the MEA that could happen later in the day to give details of the retaliation and, of course, Pakistan escalating this conflict with India.
Right. And before I let you go, I think another piece of news which is also doing the rounds, and I believe it can firmly be denied now. Did India carry out any more strikes on Lahore, Karachi, and so far as Islamabad? That is what a lot of media was also reporting as of last night.
Or, as you rightly pointed out, a lot of misinformation and disinformation is doing rounds. So we at News9 would not like to speculate on the operations that are still underway. I can only confirm that Operation Sindoor is still underway. It's far from over. Yes, India has conducted retaliation in Pakistan. The scope of the retaliation, the location of the retaliation, and the way it has been done is still not clear. It will only be reflected when officially confirmed by the MEA, Indian Army, and the Indian Air Force. So rest assured, the Indian forces are at their job. We, of course, will respect the, sensitivity and the security-related operations will not be discussed. But I can tell you retaliations are underway. Indian Army has, laid out the entire map of how to respond to any kind of escalation or provocation from Pakistan. And it has been communicated to both US as well as Saudi that if at all there is retaliation, if at all civilians are killed, if at all, Pakistan tries to do any misadventure, there will be twice the level of reaction from India.
All right. And can we expect some sort of confirmation on what transpired at about perhaps 9 or 10 o'clock today? When is the press conference by Ministry of Defence?
Well, no, again, I've checked with the MOD, Ministry of Defence and the Ministry of External Affairs. Again, misinformation on the press conference. There's no official word. We will perhaps see it later in the day because right now several operations are still underway. The security forces and the district administrations are also trying to assess whether there was any kind of damage or not. I can also brief you that there was a massive encounter that broke out in Samba of Jammu and Kashmir last night.
Okay.
There was presence of 10 to 12 terrorists of Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed that was noticed. There was intelligence inputs. The BSF engaged them. And there are unconfirmed reports, although the BSF has confirmed and officially released a statement that this encounter did take place and they repulsed the infiltration. I'm being told that 7 terrorists have been killed there. Since the operation is still underway, we don't have the details, but later in the day, the BSF, the Border Security Force, could come up with a statement. So some good news there from Samba International Border near Jammu. But the operations are underway all across, and as you said about the official word, I think the main detailed official version could come somewhat in the evening.
The version could come in the evening as far as the operations that were carried out by India is concerned, but we do know now that there were a volley of attacks, drone attacks, missile attacks that were carried out throughout late last night as far as early this morning. The second round of attacks about 4 a.m. this morning, where sirens were sounded in many western fronts, including as far as Punjab and Amritsar. Aditya, thank you for all those details. Air Marshal Dipendu Chaudhary continues to be with us. Air Marshal, you know, as the fog of the war settle down and we get more clarity on what really transpired, it does look like there's a clear picture emerging, Air Marshal, that India does continue to have an upper hand. None of those strikes that Pakistan tried making on India's soil has been successful. Not the first round, not the second round.
That's certainly what seems to me emerging. And Shweta, just understand, we must all grasp this aspect very clearly, that when conflicts occur at this level, and we are a big nation, we are 2 big nations, a long border. It's not small one-off conflict in some part of the world. So the scale of the conflict and the kind of engagement which is emerging, like I was mentioning, that this is a very diffuse state of affairs where conflict is on. The lines are still not very clear between conflict and a higher level of engagement, which is possibly the last level of engagement is war, which nobody wants. But the fact of it is that this is exactly what is going to happen. A lot of gray areas emerge, a lot of news, disruptions, false narratives. There will be counter narratives coming from the other side, which they are masters at. But look at the difference in the approach to the whole thing. Every response, official or otherwise, has been measured. We're not created a level of hysteria which Pakistan tries to do. We're very measured, balanced, and it talks enormous about the resilience of our people and our capabilities.
Absolutely.
Look at the amount of damage which has been taking place in the borders. Our civilians are, taking it taking it on the chest with square shoulders. They know what's coming, and the reason why they are and why there is no panic in our country is simply because they.
All right, I think we seem to have. Air Marshal, we seem to have lost his voice there, but I think what he was simply saying, to sum it up, is as the fog of the war settles, we will now be realizing the extent of the damage that caused by Pakistan, as well as the extent of the damage that India has caused Pakistan. It's been difficult 24 hours, but more difficult last 12 hours in which Pakistan has attacked India at least multiple times, 2 such attacks that India is now confirming as we speak. We'll try and get you all those details live here on News9. Time for a short break. We'll be back in just a bit.
बेबो का एक ही रूल, रोज खाओ अंडे without भूल.
Cause eggs are cool, cool, cool. Yes, eggs are cool, cool, cool. Summer में एनर्जी हो जाती है कम. खाओ अंडे, एनर्जेटिक रहो हरदम. Strength और power मिले हर रोज with proteins and minerals का daily dose. Eggs are cool, cool, cool. Yes, eggs are cool, cool, cool. Yes, eggs are cool, cool, cool.
संडे हो या मंडे, रोज खाओ अंडे.
Smashing corporate boundaries through sport. The News9 Corporate Badminton Championship 2025, in collaboration with Padma Shri Pulela Gopichand, offers corporations a unique opportunity to boost employee engagement through sport.
It's a perfect blend of fun, fitness and competition. So I invite all the corporate people out there to come to the court and showcase their passion for sports as well.
Top corporates are already in. Are you?
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University. Kindle the light within.
Co-powered by Tata AG, with you always. Venue partner, Gopichan Academy. Sports medicine partner, CSSH, Center for Spine and Sports Health. Associate sponsor, Blue Star, built on trust. Dinshas since 1932. D-Beats, a diamond is forever. Tata New. Celebration partner, Big Bull, the future of clubbing.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
India at war with Pakistan-backed terrorists, says India's envoy to the US, Vinay Quatra. A woman was killed and another injured in cross-border shelling by Pakistan in Uri area of north of Kashmir's Baramulla district. In a major boost to India's maritime strength, Arnala, the first of 8 indigenously designed anti-submarine warfare shallow water crafts, has been delivered to the Indian Navy. Amritsar Shri Guru Ram Das Ji International Airport closed until further notice. Indian Army neutralizes as many as 50 drones launched by Pakistan in a large-scale counter-drone operation over the night. You're watching News9. I'm Shweta Kothari. We continue to track all the details emerging in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor. Now, Indian Army repulsed a swarm drone attack by Pakistan using its anti-drone weapons last night. This is the second such attack carried out by Pakistan. The second wave began at 4 a.m. after the first wave that began at about 8:30. The second began at 4 a.m., which was effectively taken care of by the Indian Army. Pakistani troops also resorted to numerous ceasefire violations along the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The drone attacks were effectively repulsed and a befitting reply was given to all the ceasefire violations. The L-70 and the Zu-23 guns were used to effectively neutralize all the drones. And this is in view of India-Pakistan border escalation. The Indian Army repulsed a swarm drone attack after the initial attacks that were carried out across the Jammu region at about 8:30, and the other western front, it is now given to understand a second wave also began at 4 a.m. this morning, and that too was effectively taken care of by the Indian Army. What are L-70s and the Zu-23 that were used by the Indian Army? Let's take a look. The L-70 is an anti-aircraft gun. It was effectively deployed yesterday. The guns can bring down all unmanned aerial vehicles. So they have likely to have brought down the UAVs, have brought down the drones that Pakistan was operating. The gun has enhanced target acquisition and automatic target tracking capability. L-70 has a high-resolution electro-optical sensor as well. The L-70 is also equipped with a muzzle velocity radar. And they were effectively used yesterday along with Zu-23 guns to neutralize all the drones sent out by Pakistan, as many as 50 drones sent by Pakistan. My colleague Deepak Vadana joining us live from Vijay Chowk. He is at the center of all the action that is likely to take place in the national capital. Deepak, we now know that at least no press conference by Ministry of Defence that's been called at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. That also was a part of all that misinformation doing the rounds. But some confirmation now coming in from the Indian Army on the volley of drones that were sent out by Pakistan, suggesting that all were effectively neutralized and they were sent out in two chunks. One, of course, was the attack that took place at 8:30 at night, which was last night, and the other one which took place at about 4 in the morning. What do we know about the second wave of attack?
So the second wave of attack, Shweta, was meant so that at least some drones would hit something in India, and the Pakistani army basically needs something to save face. As of the last few days, the Pakistani air defense systems have been exposed, and these are the Chinese supplied H-series air defense systems. What they found is that they found the Indian air defense shield to be almost impenetrable. The latest wave of attacks that came was actually disrupted by Indian surface to air defense systems, including the Akash, which is a rather long range, looking at distances up to 100 kilometer and above. Then the Zu-23 that was used and the L-70, these actually look at close air defense, so within ranges of say 1 to 5 kilometers. Furthermore, we also have the MRSAMs, which are the medium range surface to air missiles. These have taken care of any intrusion, any aerial intruder in the ranges of 70 to 100 kilometers. So what we have here is a state-of-the-art defense system that has neutralized virtually every single incoming intruder on part of the Pakistani army. Presently, we also have some updates for you. The RM will be meeting the CDS very soon. There are also some meetings that are going to happen with the DG BSF and the leadership of the CRPF. So things are moving fast at Vijay Chowk this morning, Shweta.
Things moving fast at the center of all the action. That is the Vijay Chowk this morning. That is what my colleague Deepak Badana is bringing us. Is also giving us details of India's air defense systems, the close air defense system by the way of L-70 and Zu-23, as well as the MRSAMs, which have been effectively deployed by India. Air Marshal VPS Rana, who's also a defense and strategy expert, joining us on the show. Air Marshal, India's defense preparedness at full show since yesterday. So be it the S-400s, the MRSAMs or the close air defense systems, it essentially means that all the equipment that India has in its arsenal was able to effectively neutralize any attack that Pakistan likely carried out in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, thank you, Sweta. I think whatever is the news reports that we have seen, there have been swarms of drones that have attacked many positions inside, are mainly attacking the airfields and the vital installations. This is an era of drone war. These particularly, all these drones, particularly the swarm drones, are too much of a nuisance. They may not create the kind of damage, but it creates a lot of panic. It creates as you would have seen in Jammu, Pathankot, Avantipur and further up, there was a lot of panic on ground, despite we shooting down as many as what report says, more than 50 such drones. But there are drones and there are drones. The drones could be a very cheap, the $50, $100 kind of drone. And then there are very, very highly sophisticated drone systems, like probably the one we used to neutralize.
Right. Marshal, how many swarm drones does Pakistan have, and are they the cheaper versions of the drones, the sophisticated drones that India has?
Yeah, they have all these kind of this thing. Mostly the Chinese supplied. When you talk about a swarm drones is nothing but sending large number of drones together.
All right. Yes, sir. All right. We've lost Air Marshal VPS Rana. Deepak Badana continues to be with us. Deepak, we were talking about Pakistan's air defense capabilities. While we do know that India has hit out Lahore's ability to defend itself, it has hit out at Lahore specifically at the HQ-9 air defense system of Lahore. I also want to understand from you, as far as Pakistan's drone systems is concerned, the swarm drones that were sent out to Pakistan, how many does Pakistan have in its kitty? Could you perhaps run us through what we know about Pakistan's drones, its capabilities to enter India and attack India?
See, Shweta, one of the reasons that people go in for swarm drones is the relative, price consciousness behind the whole idea. Now, each of these drones doesn't cost a lot of money, and therefore any army has the capability of getting hundreds, if not thousands, of these drones. The idea is to send a lot of these cheap drones to overwhelm enemy air defense systems. So what air defense systems do is that each air defense system has a dedicated radar, a CPU, which actually detects targets, detects the ranges, and then takes the action to neutralize them. The Pakistani hope is that by sending these volleys, large volleys of these drones, they are trying to overwhelm the Indian air defense system by sheer numbers. However, they haven't succeeded so far. And mind you, that India has a security grid of over 1800 kilometers, if I'm not wrong. So India's got approximately 1800 kilometers of airspace to defend. And these the targets for these were 15 military installations, air bases, radar stations that Pakistan wanted to take out. What India's done in Lahore is that we practically denuded their air defense capability, and Lahore is now in a state of blackout wherein it is extremely vulnerable to any aerial intrusion. Furthermore, Pakistani air defense systems, the HQ series that you noted, has been found wanting, and this should be a matter of concern for the PLA as well. Because this is based on the S-300 systems that China bought from the Russians. Our defense systems, the premier one that India has, is the S-400, which is the latest state-of-the-art, the best air defense system in the world. So their hope is that they want to denude India's air defense capabilities, and they found themselves wanting here. Furthermore, the Pakistani army and the defense establishment in Pakistan is facing a lot of heat from its populace. People are openly questioning them, at a time when the Pakistani army takes almost 50 to 55% of Pakistan's budget every single year, the Pakistanis now see that they are, even with all this money, the rich generals of the Pakistani army have been found incapable of the only charge that they profess the Pakistani army is for, which is the defense of Pakistan.
Right.
And this is, the Pakistani army being exposed today.
All right. Shots on your screens right now, the aftermath of shelling in Uri, and on your screens right now, the rubble of perhaps some of the shops that were standing on ground there, which have suffered as a result of cross-border violation, of shelling, of the ceasefire violation by Pakistan since this morning. Heavy shelling has been reported across various sectors, including Uri, and the aftermath of which is now emerging very, very clearly on your screens. There is news of one civilian life, a woman who's laid down her life, who's died in that shelling, but that is all that we have as far as Uri is concerned. In Poonch, we know at least 15 people have died. So that's the confirmation we're getting as of this morning. Uri there on your screens right now, visuals coming in of the aftermath of the continuous shelling that civilians continue to face across the border. Air Marshal VPS Rana is back with us. Air Marshal, as my colleague was pointing out, an attempt through the swarm drone was made to overwhelm India's air defense system to see if at least one will hit, but none of them did. But I want you to talk to us about the capability of Pakistan's air preparedness, right now, when we do know Lahore is highly susceptible. To what extent do you think Pakistan can really face up to India's air capabilities?
See, like rightly Deepak said, these swarm drones, in my opinion, also is basically to probe and overwhelm your system. We have a typical situation nowadays in drone warfare that should you be taking this against, like he said, the price consciousness, that a huge expensive systems you cannot be probably using against these kind of swarm drones. But like you covered earlier, L-70, Zu-23 kind of guns, which actually had probably gone out of fashion because of the sophistication of the air attacks, now are back in favor, primarily because of these kind of swarm drone attacks. These are the cheaper drones and can effectively be taken down by L-70 Zu-23 kind of air defense guns, and I think they are the best weapon systems as far as to take care of these kind of cheap swarm drones that are coming to probably saturate your air defenses. And then the main defenses, main air defense units, which comprises your S-400, MR-SAM, AKAS, and also the shoulder-fired missiles can then be for a little, more serious kind of air attack that would take place. As far as the Lahore was concerned, they also have HQ-9, which, as per the reports, was taken down yesterday. And also other, I believe there are other 7 AD systems that have been taken down. This is something known as a suppression of enemy air defenses. Before you prepare for going deep into enemy, you actually have to neutralize the enemy air defenses in terms of their missile capability, in terms of their radars, which are picking you up 24/7. So I think yesterday's some of these precise attacks that Indian Air Force probably did was mainly to take down and reduce the capability of their air defense system. So, but this would not be all. The air defense system comprises the whole network of radars, your AWACS, AEWs, and they are on 24/7. And then there is a multi-layered defenses in terms of, like what Deepak also covered. You have systems which take care of around 200, 400 kilometers, then around 100, then at 70. So this is, and then the point defense, which is L-70 shoulder-fired guns and short-range air defense systems, which take care of.
So correct me if I'm wrong. It wouldn't be fair to say that India has completely taken out the air defense of Lahore.
No, not at all, not at all. We should not be complacent by just putting these at all. There's a whole system in place. There are multiple layers of radars. There are multiple layers of air defenses. Radar gives the warning, command and control center.
Right, but how significant is the taking down of HQ-9 in your assessment?
It is very significant. I'm sure it has been planned that way, that when you are giving a response, the response should not be just a rhetoric kind of thing like the swarm drones that the Pakistan probably did on us. When we did respond back to their attacks, we went very, very precise and took down their air defense units, which is, in any case, when you prepare for an air war, when you prepare for air strikes, the first thing that you need to do is suppress the enemy air defenses, either through hard kill or through soft kill. And that's what we did. So probably we would have created certain gaps. It's a part of the deeper plan. We would have created gaps, which then when we go and strike with our aircrafts, then possibly, and for that matter, even the missiles, you have taken down their detection capability, then it becomes...
Stay with us, sir. Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastava also joining us on the show. Air Vice Marshal, I think very, very important, piecing together of what's transpired since late last night, and that is, it does look like there is a volley of attacks on India to also test India's air defense preparedness. Could this mean that more serious equipments could be used perhaps in a day or two to come? Is this an attempt by Pakistan to divert India to something that could be brewing, perhaps much larger from what we have seen since yesterday, sir? Has Pakistan effectively used all its air equipments, or the more serious are still in its kitty and it's still yet to test it out?
So, Shweta, I'm totally in agreement with the Air Marshal who just spoke about our multi-layer defense system, where strategic layer is there, which goes from 150 to 400 plus, and then we have 40 to 150 kind of layer with different equipment, and then we have layers which are below 40 kilometers, then close-in weapon systems. So these are the multi-layered things, and of course we take care of ballistic missile defense too in the strategic layer. Coming to the capability of the enemy, and when you dovetail this with the kind of satellite or space assets we have for radar intelligence, for EM intelligence, for communication intelligence, for imagery intelligence. So all that together makes a system of our way of tracking what goes on from the enemy side, what is their plot in terms of their, the order of tank, what we call order of battle in terms of tanks, troops concentrations, aircraft concentrations, airfield. They are all known to us. We know. And this attempt which was done by the Pakistan is with the swarm drones. Swarm drones can be engaged by, there are many, many methods which are non-kinetic methods. Like we now also have directed energy weapons, which is something like laser guns you see in Star Wars. So they can also be deployed and they're ready and available. So idea being, the idea of air defense network on the Indian side is very robust, and it can take care of from smallest to highest level. But Air Marshal brought it out very correctly and I think very aptly that it is the cost of engagement. If I'm going to shoot down a very low priced item with a very high priced missile, it's not the real thing to do. But we can engage at various levels. That is for assuring the country, and specific details, of course, we will not be talking at this point of time. Coming to the side of Pakistan. Pakistan, we have tested in many ways. Their air defense there is very, very weak. Let me tell you this, and through you to the audience, our audience. It was, you remember 2022 when BrahMos was accidentally fired, so-called accident firing, and it landed up in Pakistan, and there was no way they could detect anywhere, anytime. That was also a test case to see how alert or how significant is the air defense system. Pakistan has been investing mostly in the optics, like buying some kind of JF-17s, because as far as budgets are concerned, they're as such not in comparison with Indian side, but also their generals and their military top leadership has been siphoning out a lot of dollars from there.
Right. So I'll come to that. I'll come to that, Air Vice Marshal. Air Marshal, a pointed question to you right now. Could this be an attempt by Pakistan right now to really engage India so that the more serious equipments can come in later? Is this, in your assessment, perhaps a diversionary tactic?
Absolutely. I don't think this is the main idea. Their idea would be, like I said, probably to probe and just see how your air defense systems are activated. It's a battle of wits when you are in the battlefield, whether what the action that you do, is it, perceived in similar manner by the enemy, or is the enemy smarter and sees that this is a deception technique, tactics. So I'm sure all these deceptions that are being done, or for that matter, for the creating confusion through the disinformation, I'm sure there is a serious business behind all this. But in my opinion, Pakistan will be well advised not to take it to the next level, because if it goes to the next level, then Pakistan certainly will have decimation at hand. Because these are very easy to handle. You send a swarm of drones, it is not very expensive, not very this thing. But once you come to the serious business of employing your air assets deep inside onto strategic targets, then things are felt by the entire hierarchy, from the government to the military and a common man. As of now, whatever actions that have happened is just more of a nuisance tactics and just to create that panic amongst the civil populace. But I think our civil population is also smart enough to know all these diversionary tactics, and we should be vigilant and on the lookout for any serious breakout that may happen.
India's air defense preparedness, I think we've fared pretty well on that scale. Let's quickly get in Deepak Badana back into this conversation. Deepak, the unified voice is that in Pakistan is well advised not to take it forward, but you can't expect that from Pakistan, at least with the way things have quickly escalated in the last couple of hours, it does look like it's not a measured response, unlike what India did. We sat for good 15 days after Pahalgam. Let's also tell our viewers very, very categorically, we prepared a list of what India believes to be terror camps operating in Pakistan. It was a targeted precision strike on those terror camps. No civilian infrastructure, no military installation was targeted. But on the other hand, Deepak, come to think of it, what Pakistan really did seemed to be, in a hurry, unprepared, not measured, rather quickly, without preparing enough, without trying to identify what are some of these locations that they're targeting. I mean, there is no terror outfit operating in India. There are no units operating in India. So might as well, affect and target civilians, might as well target military installations, and that's exactly what they've done. I want you to take us through, all that's come out from the government since yesterday. And in a second round of briefing, Deepak, we saw the government categorically suggesting that the round of attacks that Pakistan carried out, and this was until it started attacking Jammu late last night and various other western fronts, the government made it very, very clear that the ball is now in Pakistan's court. If they escalate, they will decide to take it forward.
Well, Shweta, the stereotype about the Pakistani armed forces is that they're brilliant at tactical levels, but they're very short-sighted at the strategic level. When you look at their actions post-Pahalgam, there was no measured response. It seems that there was nothing planned and coordinated. Rather, it was impulsive action. As I said earlier, they need to save face in front of their citizenry. Coming to the attacks on Jammu, and in fact as far as away as say Jaisalmer and Bhuj. So what Pakistan has done is, in an attempt to create equivalence, they've exposed their support for terrorism, because while India has targeted exclusively almost these terror infrastructure and terror training camps in Pakistan, Pakistan has equated that with Indian military installations. Furthermore, coming to the the MEA's press briefing yesterday, Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, actually noted it, and he was very clear and concise in what he said. He said that it is Pakistan which actually escalated. India understands the 26th April attack on Pahalgam as the escalation of violence. India has the right to resort to or take any necessary measures to counter such threats. And post that, you see waves after waves of Pakistani attacks which have failed dismally. So the Foreign Ministry has stated clearly that the role of de-escalation, the charge actually lies with the Pakistani armed forces, and the Pakistani armed forces, with their Hafiz chief, Mr. Asim Munir, they find themselves caught in a bind. The fact is that they cannot afford a war. They know that they cannot win a war, but should they not fight, they will be damned. So Asim Munir has painted himself into this corner where he doesn't know what to do. And you see this diverse range of voices coming out of Pakistan in response. At one end, a spokesperson speaking to the media in Moscow talks about how he starts saber rattling and talking about nuclear weapons and threatening not just India but the world, because he sees that if Pakistan will use any weapon for its defense, it doesn't care for the consequences. So it's like a man who's put a gun to his own head.
Come to think of it, it's blatant disregard for your own people. When you say that you don't really care about the consequences of using nuclear weapon, it's not just disregard for our law and order internationally, but also your own people who put you in charge, at least as far as the civilian government of Pakistan is concerned. But I think we all know the civilian defense is a dummy government which has been stated by the Pakistani army. So it's literally the Pakistani army that is calling the shots as far as what's coming out of the civilian government in Pakistan is concerned. Captain Akhilesh Saxena is a Kargil war veteran, also joining us on the show. I think let's also quickly get in what transpired by the way of attacks in the Sambha international border. We also know now that BSF confirmed that there was a movement detected. There was an infiltration bid at the international border, and the BSF in fact responded appropriately. There's some sort of confirmation on that as well, and there was an attempt made to infiltrate the border. We don't know if terrorists are dead. There is some news coming in that as many as 7 to 8 terrorists may have been killed, but we'll wait for some confirmation from the BSF with regards to that, but we do know that there was infiltration attempt made through the Samba international border. Captain Akhilesh Saxena, it does look like it's a multi-frontal battle. On one hand, Pakistan is ensuring that it continues to send in drones and missiles. At the same time, terrorists are also trying to infiltrate through the international border.
As I mentioned earlier, that India has to fight the battle on 2.5 front, and that's a reality today. Because while army will be working on our western and on our northern border, you will see all these attacks like Shahideen attacks. You will see some of the sleeper cell getting activated, and this will become more and more because we have got our internal enemy within us. So I think it's a very important message to all the citizens of the country that this is the time to stay united. First, we should not be looking at the rumor. There will be rumors floating all around. You will see a lot of cyber attacks. You will see a lot of fake news coming in. So stay united. And second thing, just ensure whenever you get a chance, any suspicious movement, please give the information to army or to the police or to authority. Because what we will see as we will start our attack on Pakistan and start excusing them, they will start using all their sleeper cells. And there are many internal enemies which we have seen over the past, which are within our country, right? So today is the time to deal with them also. So while we will be ensuring that we
Captain Saxena, you say there are a lot of internal enemies also operating in India. Who are you referring to?
When I say internal enemy, there are sleeper cells, there are terrorists which are just staying there, and there is a term called overground worker, right? They are not full-fledged terrorists, but they are working for terrorists, and whenever they are required, they come into play. Like in Pahalgam attack also, there was a role of many overground workers. So they are, somehow they are sympathizers, supporters, and provide. So this is the time when we have to identify, because they will try to take the advantage of the, fluid situation. And there could be an internal disturbance, internal attacks on armed forces and others. So as a citizen, we also need to be like a soldier, right? We need to ensure that we are taking care of our internal front. And
Absolutely.
That's a very, very important thing.
Right. So while we talk about what's happening internally, we now know Indian ambassador to the United States, Vinay Quatra, has spoken to CNN. Let's quickly take a look at that interview. I think it's important to understand how world is perceiving the escalation that is brewing between India and Pakistan.
Now, this was Pakistan's way of saying to the world, look, we stand with the terrorists. We will do what's good for the terrorists, not what's good for the rest of the country.
Is India at war with Pakistan?
We are at war with the terrorists. And we will, as I said, bring justice to the victims and hold them accountable.
Is this in part a religious war between Pakistani Muslims and Indian Hindus?
I think it is Indian action against the terrorists. The ones who carried out those killings of the civilians. Our frame of reference in doing these attacks, in holding them accountable, is holding terrorism accountable. That's our frame. It is India and terror activities backed by Pakistan, which were responsible for killing of the 26 innocent civilians.
You say you're at war with the terrorists. At what point will you be satisfied?
Well, as I said, when we did our attacks, measured attacks, proportionate attacks day before yesterday, that was precisely the point we were trying to convey, that these terrorists carried out these brutal killings of 26 civilians.
So are you done with the attacks, or do you think they're going to continue?
If I could just complete. So when we did this day before yesterday, our assumption was that we have completed what we set out to do ourselves vis-a-vis the terrorists. We, from our perspective, had brought a certain finality to it. But it was, of course, subject to whether Pakistan has brought finality to it. Pakistan chose to escalate it further. Now it's duty-bound for us to respond.
All right, Vinay Quatra suggesting that India brought some sort of finality to it by the way of Operation Sindoor, carrying out those military precision strikes, but it didn't look like it was finality from Pakistan's side that attacked India. It was a failed attack on as many as 15 Indian cities, post which India sent out drones and missiles to Pakistan, and since late last night we've seen a volley of drones and missiles being launched from Pakistan up until this morning. We're tracking all those details for you here on News9. Time for a short break. We'll be back with more on the other side.
मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी जिंदगी चाहे जो भी हो।
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
Others see a teenage tantrum. I see you standing your ground. The world sees stubbornness. I see a soft, soft heart. I see you, my daughter, 16 and already owning your story. And I couldn't be more proud. For you, only natural diamonds.
Smashing corporate boundaries through sport. The News9 Corporate Badminton Championship 2025, in collaboration with Padma Shri Pulela Gopichand, offers corporations a unique opportunity to boost employee engagement through sport.
It's a perfect blend of fun, fitness and competition. So I invite all the corporate people out there to come to the court and showcase their passion for sports as well.
Top corporates are already in. Are you?
Presenting sponsor, Srinidhi University, Kindle the Light Within.
Co-powered by Tata AIG, with you always. Venue partner, Gopichand Academy. Sports medicine partner, CSSH, Center for Spine and Sports Health. Associate sponsor, Blue Star, built on trust. Dinshas since 1932. D-Beats, a diamond is forever. Tata New. Celebration partner, Big Bull, the future of clubbing.
Welcome back. You're watching News9. I'm Shweta Kothari. We continue to track the aftermath of Operation Sindoor and the ongoing efforts by India to protect its borders. A volley of attacks was carried out by Pakistan, the latest one at 4 in the morning. 50 drones were brought down by India. They were completely neutralized by the Indian air defense systems. Air Marshal VPS Rana continues to be with us. Air Marshal, this is an evolving situation. The Indian government has also now continuously said that Operation Sindoor is far from over. And I also want our viewers to quickly know what India has done in retaliation to Pakistan's escalation. After carrying out Operation Sindoor, Pakistan attempted to attack as many as 15 Indian cities from Jammu to Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. These cities, some major cities and these states were on Pakistan's radar. All efforts to target India failed, Air Marshal, post which India carried out retaliatory strikes. It sent out its own drones and brought down air defense system in Lahore. And since last night, we've seen Pakistan trying to get some sort of upper hand, in its war with India and hasn't been able to do so. Where does it take us from here on, sir, on the escalatory ladder? I think at this point, would it be fair to say that Pakistan has substantially escalated the matter and therefore the ball is in their court to whether de-escalate the situation right now?
Absolutely. I mean, it is up to Pakistan. In our response, we've been very, very measured, precise, and we have, like you have already covered, we haven't attacked their any of this thing other than the terror organization. And as a response to their attack on our district, to some of their AD units, to again just send a message. We could have decimated the entire network the way we had gone, but we have just sent the message across that it is enough, you need to withdraw. But should Pakistan not be taking that lesson from all these precise attacks that we have done, then they are going unnecessary escalating this. They are more on the optics and less on the serious this thing. Why I say that is that they also are sending more and more of swarm drones, more and more of these projectiles which have been brought down. I don't see any of this really a serious threat other than few loitering munitions that have been reported in Jammu, and apparently I saw it in the news that at least 4 loitering munitions were reported in Jammu region. That is something little serious effort which, and again, kudos to the air defense, our air defense, that we have taken down those. They have a Blaze kind of a series, which is again a kamikaze kind of drones, which are a little more sophisticated, which can be really guided to the,
have they
serious.
deployed kamikaze? Have they deployed the more serious drones yet?
I believe so. I mean, I saw it in the news that even in Jammu, there are around 4 such kind of drones have been brought down. So that is the only serious effort that I see till now. Other than that, most of the, I see not much in the swarm drone attack. It is more of a nuisance and more of a probing. But should they be coming to attack with that high-end missiles, and also these kind of drones which can actually hit on our at least the tactical high-value targets within Army, Air Force bases, then I will see that is further the escalation ladder. But we don't see that yet. They are more onto optics, more for the domestic audiences that see India attacked us and we have gone whole hog. We have across the border. We have gone from Punch to Jaisalmer and attacked everywhere. None of those attacks have been effective, primarily because of a response of our air defense system. And secondly, also, they're not utilizing real serious weapons, in my opinion, so far.
Used very serious weapons so far. It seems like that swarm drone attack was a nuisance, perhaps a diversionary tactic. That is what is Air Marshal suggesting right now. Stay with us. More breaking news coming on the show. The president of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, has met with Prime Minister Modi on Thursday amid suspended Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan. The meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the World Bank chief took place at the former's residence, which is the Prime Minister's residence at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, following the Indian airstrikes on the terror infrastructure in Pakistan as well as the POK. The meeting took place at Prime Minister's residence on Wednesday. Pakistan also attempted to target, remember, Indian military installations in at least 15 cities. It failed. And after India attacked its air defense, it further escalated the attack later at night, which started at 8:30 at night, carried on till about 4 in the morning as of today. It looks like on the back of that, President of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, has met with Prime Minister Modi. Is this an attempt by the World Bank to broker some sort of a deal as far as Indus Water Treaty is concerned? Remember, government in its 5-pronged approach after Pahalgam terror attack suspended the Indus Water Treaty, put it in abeyance, which essentially means that every time government holds back water or releases water, it is not informing its Pakistani counterparts anymore, which was one of the measures that India was bound to do under the treaty. But since it has kept the treaty in abeyance, it is not bound to inform Pakistan. Now, that has resulted in a flood-like situation occurring in Pakistan in the last couple of days. We are yet to understand what this meeting between World Bank President and Prime Minister could mean. And before we understand that, remember, let's quickly run our viewers through what has transpired yet again. The President of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, met with Prime Minister Modi on Thursday amid suspended Indus Water Treaty. Now, as I mentioned, since the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, Pakistan has also urged the World Bank to intervene in the matter to ensure that India lives up to its expectation under Indus Water Treaty, and that is keep Pakistani officials informed every time it is releasing water on one of the tributaries of Indus River. However, India hasn't done so since it kept in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty. Now, Pakistan has approached various international authorities, including the World Bank, to urge India to adhere to the terms under Indus Water Treaty. In the back of all of that, Ajay Banga has met with Prime Minister. My colleague Karthik Malhotra joining us on the phone line. Karthik, what are we to read of that meeting between Ajay Banga and Prime Minister Modi?
Clear, the World Bank is not going to interfere with the Indus Water Treaty, and that is the word which is coming out from Ajay Banga. He's the World Bank president. He did meet Prime Minister Modi as well as Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday and said that the multilateral agency will not interfere in the Indus Water Treaty. Remember, the Indus Water Treaty was one of the first diplomatic strikes that India had made against Pakistan after the horrific April 22nd Pahalgam attacks, which took the lives of 26 innocent civilians in India on Indian soil. Now, this was also, there was an interview that Ajay Banga had also done with a leading TV news channel in India. And to quote him from that interview, Ajay Banga also said that we have to pay the fees of those guys through a trust fund that was set up at the bank at the time of the creation of the treaty. That's our role. We have no role to play beyond that. So World Bank very clearly saying that there is absolutely no interference that can be expected from the World Bank, and Ajay Banga being very, very clear as World Bank president that he's not going to interfere in India's decision to keep the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance.
All right, Ajay Banga making it clear that there will be no role played by World Bank as far as Indus Water Treaty and its suspension is concerned. Karthik, thank you very much for all those details. And that crucial meeting comes on the back of India putting a halt and containing some of that water flow and then releasing it, which may have resulted in a flood-like situation in the low-lying areas of Jhelum and its the tributaries of Indus River. And more news coming in as the conflict began. There's been a lot of misinformation that, in circulation in India and elsewhere. We bring you some of the fact checks to help you sort what's real from what's fake. And on your screens right now, a fact check that has been put out by PIB. Was there a drone attack in Jalandhar? To that, the video of a drone strike in Jalandhar, which is widely being circulated, PIB says this is an unrelated video of a farm fire. The video was shot earlier and the drone attack began later. So no, there was no drone strike video from Jalandhar. There is no drone strike in Jalandhar. So the visuals that you're seeing on your screens right now, on the right of that fire is likely a farm fire. The second round of fact check that PIB has made is that of a social media post falsely claiming that Indian military used Ambala Air Base. Another news that's coming in from PIB is that fake news circulating about a Fidain attack on an army brigade in Rajouri in Jammu. Now PIB has fact-checked it. It says that no such Fidain or suicide attack has happened on any army cantonment area. On your screens, of course, that fact check that's been put out by PIB suggesting that there was in fact no Fidain attack. Next, a letter has been shared on social media claiming that Chief of the Army Staff V.K. Narayan has sent a confidential letter regarding military preparedness to the army officer of Northern Commandant. This letter is also completely fake. So on your screens, that letter is in fact a fake and is not an official letter issued by the Indian Army. And a fact check that has come in by PIB, a social media post falsely claiming that Indian military used Ambala Air Base to attack Amritsar and its own citizen. Again, completely baseless and a part of a concrete misinformation campaign, a concerted campaign by perhaps Pakistani trolls. There is absolutely no Indian military base that has been used by India to target its own people. Another round of fact check by PIB is that social media posts are claiming that entry to airports across India has been banned. Again, this is fake. Some airports are closed, details of which we'll share with you very, very shortly, but no, airport entries are not banned. So there you have it, the PIB fact-checking some of those crucial news items, a flurry of which is currently floating on social media. And let's keep a track of that. It's very essential for everybody today to prepare, to ensure that we don't fall prey to a volley of fake news item being shared on social media. So be particular before you share any of those news items. It might as well be fake.
ओए खन्ने ओ खन्ना खन्ना हमारे मित्र थे राम राम अभी ये रोज का ही चालू है
All right, as I come to the end of this broadcast, Air Marshal VPS Rana continues to be with me. Air Marshal, let's sum this up for our viewers, shall we?